It's 5:30 in the morning, November 5th, 1989. San Diego's La Jolla neighborhood is just beginning to wake up, but inside a quiet house on Marston Hills Lane, two gunshots shatter the silence. Within seconds, a long-married couple, Dan and Linda Broderick, are dead. The person holding the smoking gun? Betty Broderick, the woman Dan once promised to love till death do us part. How does a picture-perfect marriage spiral into a double homicide that would grip America for decades? Today I'm diving into the true story of Betty Broderick, a tale of ambition, betrayal, and revenge that asks, what happens when a woman feels she has nothing left to lose? Let's rewind. In 1965, Betty Bisceglia, an outgoing Catholic girl from New York, meets Dan Broderick at the University of Notre Dame. He's smart, driven, and determined to make something of himself. Betty falls for him fast, and they marry in 1969 in a beautiful church ceremony, captured in photos that look straight out of a fairy tale. But life isn't always a fairy tale. Betty supports Dan through medical school, then law school, working multiple jobs, raising their kids, moving city to city. She's the glue that holds everything together. By the early 1980s, the Brodericks have it all: 4 children, a mansion in La Jolla, and what looks like the perfect family life. But behind those Christmas card smiles, cracks are forming. Dan, now a wealthy medical malpractice attorney, starts spending late nights at the office. Betty suspects he's having an affair with his much younger assistant, Linda Kolkena. Dan denies it, but Betty's intuition is relentless. Then the truth comes out: Dan and Linda are together. Betty is devastated. Her world, her family, her identity is ripped apart. The divorce that follows is bitter and public. There are screaming voicemails, vandalized property, and escalating accusations. Dan, now with Linda, wins full custody of the kids, the house, and most of their money. Betty is left feeling erased, not just by her husband but by the legal system she believes failed her. For Betty, the betrayal runs deeper than lost love. It's about being discarded, replaced, and ignored after years of sacrifice. Her anger turns obsessive. She leaves threatening messages, drives her car into Dan's front door, and violates court orders. On November 5th, 1989, Betty drives to Dan and Linda's home, using a stolen key to slip inside. She finds them sleeping. Within moments, she fires 5 shots. 2 hit their targets. Dan and Linda die together in their bed. Betty turns herself in that morning, admitting what she's done. But the story doesn't end there. Her trials become a media circus. Courtroom sketches plastered across TV screens, testimony that paints her as both a villain and a victim. Betty's defense? She was driven over the edge, pushed by years of psychological abuse and manipulation. Juries are divided. The first trial ends in a hung jury, the second guilty of second-degree murder. Betty is sentenced to 32 years to life in prison, where she remains today. The Betty Broderick case still fascinates and divides people. Was she an unhinged killer, or a desperate woman pushed too far? For some, she's a cautionary tale of how bitterness and rage destroy lives. For others, she's a symbol of a system that failed to protect her. But one thing's certain: behind every shocking headline and courtroom drama, there's a real family, real pain, and real loss. That's the tragic legacy of Betty Broderick. A woman who, in her quest for justice, crossed a line she could never come back from.